My mom died 12 years ago, but about 2 years ago, I went through depression. Realization started happening. It took all this stress of being wrong about being in my head. And immediately that night, my body opened up and I started being able to feel things that I could not feel, just to have permission that I wasn't wrong about being in my head. So I was trying to escape being wrong instead of just having compassion. That was a huge breakthrough. It just like all kinds of weight dropped off. Just the compassion came again. Another kind of level was unlocked for that.
Hi, I'm Christopher Stubbs, founder of the Wolf Pack, where we are committed to creating absolutely thriving lives in our health, our finances, our relationships, our spirituality, and to creating a world that we are excited to hand off to our children in a world of change, in a world of all kinds of possibilities, creating a life experience for ourselves and our loved ones where we thrive in every way possible. If you haven't joined us yet in our free community, check us out on Facebook, The Wolf Pack. You'll see the link in the description or comments below. I'll see you on the other side. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode here in the Wolf Pack. Today is going to be a powerful call. We're not going to sugarcoat shit. Sean is an amazing, amazing man, and we have some amazing stuff to cover. If you're watching this, you're a man in the modern world. And in the modern world, we as men are dealing with a fucking onslaught of pressure and fucking expectation and a level to perform at levels like never before. And the amount of combination of the pressures of being a husband, being a father, being a business owner, dealing with fucking inflation and the state of the world and politics and socioeconomics and all the different things that we're navigating is fucking challenging. And we're required to be more emotionally intelligent, more present, more capable, more supportive in the home, just in every single way. And we have more pressures and more things coming at us than ever before. Massive fucking forces trying to destroy anything that looks masculine. Massive fucking forces and people and cultural movements trying to destroy the family unit. Here at the Wolf Pack, we're a stand for a man being the best version of himself and fucking thriving and loving his life. And so what we're going to share today is going to be powerful. We're going to keep it as short and sweet as we can, but we're going to deliver what needs to be delivered. Sean and I have worked together off and on over maybe a 10-year period. Yep. And have accomplished some tremendous things together. And it's been a beautiful journey. And more recently, as we've had our most recent collaborative efforts together, he's been adding tremendous value to my life, and I believe I've been adding tremendous value to his life. And we've seen a huge positive upturn for Sean in just a matter of weeks by implementing what I'm calling the holy grail of everything I've discovered over a 30-year deep dive and over $1 million invested that I'm sharing in the Wolfpack membership group as well as my Men of Sovereignty group. And we're getting results at least 10 times faster than anything I've ever fucking done or seen done anywhere. These men's groups are at a higher caliber of work and creating a higher level of success than I've ever seen by far. And Sean's adding some tremendous value to me there, and we're seeing just the most amazing things. So you want to stay tuned. We're going to give you all the goods, all the juice, all the sizzly shit. It's going to bless your life if you listen with curiosity and wonder and openness and a high level of radical responsibility and actually do something with it. Too often we listen to shit, we read shit, and we don't do anything. So if you'll pay attention with an open mind, an open heart, and then do stuff with it, your life will change. So Sean, welcome. Looking forward to connecting.
Yeah, thanks, Christopher. It's good to be here. We've been kind of hanging out behind the scenes, so it's not a fresh introduction for you and I, but yeah, for the people in your world, I'm a new face, so privilege and honor to be here, and exciting stuff to talk about. Cool stuff happening.
Yes. So what inspired me to want to schedule this call and see if you would join, Sean, was the amazing, you know, you were going through a tough experience. You were navigating all the pressures of being a husband, being a man, being a provider, dealing with all the other things that can hit us in the different phases of life. And you trusted me to give you some guidance and support, and I trusted you to support me with some stuff. And you started implementing, and you started having a powerful shift, but then you took a lot of wisdom from a lot of work you've done over the years on a very deep level and combined all these tools. And when you were sharing with me the huge results you were creating with that, it reminded me of similar experiences I had gone through. And so might want to just dive straight into explaining kind of what you were dealing with, and then how inspiration guided you to navigate it, and what the results have been.
Yeah, just brief background. I've been a copywriter since about 2008, full time. Worked with some big companies, done the direct response copy thing with Agora and Oxford Club, a lot of the financial. Then moved into a lot more of the coaching world. Worked behind the scenes at several big companies. Most people would probably know. And I was having really good success, like in my late 30s, early 40s. Even when you and I met, even though I was going through a program that you were part of, I was actually doing real well. I just didn't realize I was doing real well. And I didn't give myself credit, which will be a theme for doing really well. And I ended up spiraling down. Lost my mom. Never really dealt with it. Kept putting it off and putting it off, and the grief just kind of boiled up. And about 2 years ago, so my mom died 12 years ago, but about 2 years ago, I went through depression. And growing up, I grew up in a very, conservative Southern Baptist part of the country. And, that just at our age group, Christopher, and in that environment, like that's just depression isn't allowed almost, right? For men, especially.
Yeah.
So I had a hard time even admitting that was a possibility so that I could even ask for help or seek help. Luckily, I had somebody in my life here locally who was going through something similar, and their willingness to admit it to me kind of loosened me up and allowed me to admit it. I finally admitted that, yeah, this might be a real thing and it might be a real problem. I got help. I took the medication for about 6 months. I knew I didn't want to go much longer than that because I've heard horror stories of, you can get kind of hooked on that, on that stuff, and it gets harder and harder to get off. Through all this time, I'd been doing personal development work. I'd had coaches. I'd coached other people myself, and nothing ever seemed to just kind of stick. I was learned a lot of stuff, had a lot of knowledge, but it was having a hard time making it from my head to my heart. I was in my head a lot. I heard these people talk about how they could feel things in their body or in their heart space. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I have no idea. I could not feel my body at all.
Yeah.
And then over the last 2 years, especially coming out of depression, I started really trying some alternative stuff, some plant medicines, and I started loosening up and started feeling. And what happened during the depression time, the drugs, I will say they did a good job of quieting everything down so that I could actually just function and try some of these new techniques and things like that. That was the biggest thing I got from that. And once I saw what was possible, it kind of shifted my brain. It's like, oh, okay, if I do these things, now that I was able to start, I can continue them. So yeah, and then I guess you and I reconnected kind of late last year. I just came off a plant medicine journey, some psilocybin, for those that know what that is. I don't know on Facebook how much we should say. But I would been trying to integrate a lot of stuff, and I was integrating stuff, doing journaling, things like that. And I'd been trying meditation for a long time, off and on, tried Joe Dispenza's stuff, tried Centerpoint stuff, tried a lot of different stuff. And you and I started talking, and you told me about what you had discovered in the first rite of passage, as you call it, the warrior rite of passage. And the tweak that you gave me on that was huge because it really allowed me to get into a silent place that I'd not had before, because I'd been using a lot of guided stuff. I'd been using a lot of, music, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know how deep you want to go into the exactly what the ritual is.
Good to go.
Okay. So yeah, the thing you told me was like, I want you to do 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night, no music, just silence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd kind of had an inkling, like a little bit of an intuition over the years that, I had the Calm app for a long time, had the Muse Headspace, like where it kind of helps you, like all these tools. And at some point I would always be like, this just feels like too much.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I'd kind of had that thought, but I'd never heard anybody say it. Um, so I started trying it, and within 2 weeks, like I noticed a major shift in like self-compassion, because you had us say, speak compassion to ourselves. So I love you, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever your mantra might be. You've got some others that you use. There's no one that's completely accurate, or
Mm-hmm.
right. You have to kind of feel it out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing I love about what you were sharing, is that, it's not, there's the guardrails, the 20 minutes in the morning, 20
Mm-hmm.
minutes in the night, quiet, no music, all that, no guided. But beyond that, you can use your own intuition to kind of feel into like what you should be saying to yourself, listening to the triggers that are coming up, the negative voices that are coming up, and then kind of ask what's going on and things like that. So, but yeah, it's amazing what 40 minutes a day of silence, first thing in the morning and you hear that all the time, but there's so many tools and gadgets that want you to layer something else onto it, whether it's music or guided or whatever, bells in the background. And the difference between just the pure silence was amazing.
And then what happens when you actually still the mind?
Yeah.
So each day you're raising upper limits. Each day you're transmuting past traumas and pains and stories and samskaras. Each day your mind is becoming more and more stilled and disciplined, and you're literally incrementally becoming more and more mentally masterful in the most simple way. And now it can be complex when you fight it, when you try to force it, when you're trying to get somewhere, when you're trying to control the situation, when you're resisting whatever arises, when you're chasing something or running away from something, then you can complexify it. But if you just stick with the simple ancient techniques and don't add anything, just keep it simple. The KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
And we just keep it simple. And then the level of it, just all the things that are happening is just mind boggling, because you're raising upper limits, you're gaining worthiness, you're getting peace and stillness, you're getting mental clarity, you're getting inspiration, you're recalibrating the nervous system, you're getting mental mastery, which is literally the greatest mastery you'll ever obtain. It's the first step to personal mastery on all levels.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I was at an event last summer, and one of the facilitators there, I kept saying, I feel like I'm in my head too much. I want to, everybody talks about being in your body, and I'm in my head. I remember we were going through the ceremony, and I was telling him this, one of the facilitators, and he's like, maybe you just have a really strong, powerful mind. Maybe it's a gift. Maybe you shouldn't beat yourself up so bad about it. And this was probably June of last year. So that's really when this whole self-compassion realization started happening. And as soon as he said that, it took all this stress of being wrong about being in my head. And immediately that night, my body opened up, and I started being able to feel things that I could not feel, supplements that I couldn't feel before. I could start to feel, just to have permission that I wasn't wrong about being in my head. So I was trying to escape being wrong instead of just having compassion, which is a very
So
different energy.
So interesting how that works. Like, one of the
Yeah.
big books that helped me break through a bunch of stuff was called Healing the Shame That Binds You. And
Yes.
I would prescribe it to people, and one person would read it and they would have a powerful change. And another person would read it and all it would do is almost make things worse. And what I discovered was when they were reading it through the filter of I'm broken, I'm guilty, I'm wrong, I'm bad, I'm ashamed, I'm fundamentally flawed, then all it did was make it worse. And the same with all the advice out there, like follow your heart, get out of your head, all the things. When you're listening through the filter of and receiving that as a diagnosis, see what's wrong with me is I'm stuck in my head. Exactly. And that literally becomes your reality. But when you add compassion to it, and then the wisdom of what they were saying comes in, and it can actually bless you. You're like, hey, yeah, you're in your head a lot and you're fucking worthy as you are. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to fix. It's just a great awareness to have, but don't turn in on yourself, because every time you're looking in on yourself in a level of judgment or fixing, you're actually fundamentally keeping yourself stuck further. It's in embracing yourself as you are and giving yourself compassion for all that you're navigating, that it loosens the grip and you're able to finally move free.
Yeah. And I will say that night I had some help from plant medicines, very, very light Kana, I think is what we were using that night. So it opened up the heart, and the judgment, was a little bit less than it would be normally, because it's not a full like psychedelic trip or anything by any means. It's pretty subtle and mild. That was just enough crack though for where I was then to just let that truth in. And now with, the rite of passage you share with me and what you share in the wolf pack, one of the things you had me do was that we kind of came to together was, for me, because you have a little bit, you can diagnose different people differently. Like you can give them a certain mantra they might say. Some people like certain ones, some people like others. And for me, we came up with, on my inhale, I would say my name, and I would say my full name, Sean Paul McCool. And I started doing that because that's, my dad would call me Sean Paul, or I just wanted to really let my inner self know that it was me that we're talking about, not some other Sean, not, whatever. I wanted the full name. So I'd do that. I'd be like, inhale, Sean Paul McCool, and then exhale, I love you, whatever I needed to hear. Like I would see different people's, I would see my dad come up, right? I was like, well, how would he say it? So it'd be like, Sean Paul, I'm proud of you. And I would just kind of go with that for, 5, 6, 7 breaths. And then another name might pop in. My mom, it was wild. Like ex-girlfriends would pop in, and I would, all of a sudden I'd remember like being hurt. Right. And I would breathe in the way they would say my name. And then, whatever I needed on the exhale for that. And that was that day. I specifically remember that day, and I remember texting you about it. That was a huge breakthrough. It just like all kinds of weight dropped off. Just the compassion came again. Another kind of level was unlocked for that.
So I want to kind of give a teaser to the viewers, and then I would love you to dive into the rest, the next phases, what's all unfolded for you here. So all of you watching the recording, we have been in the background working for a very, very long time, very diligently, to bring you the greatest value we can possibly bring you. So when I say that these rites of passage have been the holy grail of everything I've studied and discovered, I've studied so immensely everything, so many things. I'll name off the first ones that come up, and it'll probably only be about half of what I've studied, and it'll just be the names of them. So you're talking 30 years of deep dive at the most extreme levels I've ever witnessed. But I studied psychology and communication skills and body language and parenting and breath work and rebirthing and energy healing and spiritual studies and meditation and marketing and business and sales and leadership and shamanism, and spent time with indigenous tribes and native cultures all over. Just the most amazing experiences and stories and learnings and breakthroughs. And after having a very challenging childhood and doing everything backwards in relationships and health and finances and everything, I've been able to come from a very, very rough life where I was ready to blow my brains out several times to having a life beyond what I ever imagined. I don't have all the answers. I'm not always up in the clouds. Sometimes I'm pissed off. Sometimes I'm depressed even for brief moments. And so I'm still very much having a human experience, but my life is so, it's like it's when I would dream and think, oh, you're fucking nuts. That's a pipe dream. You're just in your childhood fantasies about what life could be. That's how my life is now, with some flavors of ups and downs and challenges that I still navigate. And so I've studied the principles of prosperity and what it takes to thrive, not just strategies. A lot of guys go out there and study strategies. Oh, you buy a house, you fix it up, you flip it. Or, oh, you launch a program, a coaching program, and you use all these marketing techniques and you sell the shit out of it, make a bunch of money. No, I study deep, deep, deep because I'm heart-centered. It's like, how can I add the most value? How can I understand the workings behind this, the natural laws that govern these results, so that we can make them duplicatable no matter what the external environment is producing? Because strategies change according to the local current environment, but principles are always true. They just are always true. And so one of those principles is the law of reciprocation, where essentially value follows value, or dollars follow value, or if you must give value first to receive value. Like if I want to grow a garden, I got to put a lot into it before I ever receive anything from it. And so I approach all my business from not I'm going to sell as much shit as I can to as many people as I can. I go, I'm going to build a whole bunch of awesome relationships that are authentic from the heart, where I genuinely care, with people that I actually want to have in my world, add as much value as I can. And when the time's right, I'll make it such a no-brainer for people to want to pay me money and participate in my offering, because it's so valuable, and they trust it and they know it because they've seen it, that it's just a natural, organic evolution of a relationship, the way a healthy friendship or tribe or community or anything would be, rather than just the pickup artist or the sales assassin who's just out to get his. And so we've been to work in depth for a very long time to bring you the most valuable thing I've ever come across for free. And we're going to call it the Warrior 44, taking you from alpha to Atma. We've got an amazing book coming out that Sean's helping me with, and all kinds of things. But here in the free Facebook Wolfpack group community, we are going to be bringing forth very soon the Warrior 44 Challenge for free. And it'll be the best thing you've ever done in your life. For me, after spending 30 years traveling to the ends of the earth, working with masters, working with elders, working with teachers, working with the people with massive degrees and all the things, the best of the best across the world, I'm distilling down the most powerful thing I've ever come across that has changed my life the most, where literally all the answers are within you. And all you've heard about, get out of your head, love yourself, do your shadow work, do the fucking work, study this, do that. It all comes together once and for all. And instead of wondering, fuck, I've done all this stuff, when am I going to love myself? When am I going to value myself? When am I going to be met financially by life? When am I going to finally thrive? When are my relationships going to finally thrive? When is this fucking burden of all the pressures that I navigate going to lift? This, for me, brought all that together after 30 fucking years of trying to bring it together. And it has blown my mind how fast and how powerfully that has taken place. And it's simple. We're modeling it similar to the 75 hard challenge. I've done Ironman, I've done CrossFit, I've done Spartan races, I've done 75 hard challenge, and all these things that gave me a level of mental toughness and grit and focus and will and intent and follow through that was key, absolutely fucking key to all the success I enjoy today. But through these ancient simple meditation techniques that I've implemented, it's been absolutely phenomenal to discover that there was a whole nother level far beyond anything I'd ever achieved. And it was in the comfort of my own home. And the reason why we're calling it Warrior 44 is that within 40 days, I've made it 44 to give you a 10% leeway. Within 40 days, we can completely fucking massively up-level your life in the comfort of your own home, sitting on a soft cushion in the air conditioning of your own home. And you may think, well, fuck, 20 minutes morning, 20 minutes night, that's a lot. I already have a lot on my plate. But I'm telling you, it's the best fucking 40 minutes of your day because you'll actually have peace, clarity, joy, stillness. It's the most rejuvenating thing. Last night I laid down and I was like, I don't feel like I'm gonna fall asleep. Well, who fuck laying here? Let me go meditate again.
Yep.
And so I go meditate for an hour. I feel like $1,000,000. I get a bunch of insights. I clear out a bunch of stuff. I feel amazing. And then I start to doze after about 40 minutes or 60 minutes, whatever it was. And I'm like, okay, now I can sleep like a champ. I slept like a champ, woke up at 4 something this morning. And I was like, oh, I want another meditation. So in the beginning, it takes some willpower to get this going. Once you have momentum, it's like, hey, I can't wait to fucking do it again because it adds so much value. Literally the greatest return on investment you'll ever fucking get out of anything in your life. Not all the podcasts you listen to, all the books you listen to, all the coaches you hire. It's all fine and dandy. And we need those things. And I do all those things all the time. I have 5 coaches right now myself. I'm taxed to the fucking max between what I'm creating, all my investments, all my businesses, all my coaches, and all my clients. And then being a husband and father, like I know what these fucking pressures feel like and the constriction of time. And I literally couldn't do it. My kingdom is more complex and more abundant and flowing so damn much money and opportunity and resources that without this, there's no way. No way. I was the primary bottleneck in my success my entire life. And this has amplified my ability to create 10 times as much, 10 times as fast, 10 times easier. And just being in a state of stillness and peace, even throughout my day, more so and more so all the time. So stay tuned. We have amazing, amazing resources coming your way. Prepare yourself, start practicing, start putting in a 5-minute meditation, start doing a morning routine, get a workout in, get a breath session in, get a little short meditation in, study those books, journal, build those habits. The rough fucking times are coming. There's a lot of change happening in the world, and you're either going to be swept up in the shit and fall into fucking chaos and have a miserable fucking ride, or you're going to fucking expand your capacity and your level of presence to be the calm in the storm so you can navigate it with ease and thrive like never before. It don't have to be fucking ugly if you're willing to do the work. So Now we'll come back. Sean, what was next for you?
Well, I'd say as you were talking, I had this kind of, my writer brain was kicking in. I had a metaphor come up. So I'll share that because it kind of ties into what I did actually. So if I think about making an omelet, I've got the eggs, maybe some cheese, some bacon, some onions, peppers, whatever you like, little cayenne pepper. You can crack your eggs, put them in the pan. Like you've got all the tools. You've got the oven, the oven or the stove top. Everything's there. But if you just put everything in the pan and start stirring the pan, but there's no fire on the burner, you're just going to have a mess. And that's what it felt like for me. Like I knew all these different ideas and tools. The ones I'm going to talk about specifically here next are timeline therapy, internal family systems or IFS, visualizations, different types of meditation, and then the whole quantum physics, quantum sciences stuff that's coming on, and all these books that I've read across a wide range.
Shadow work and inner child work and attachment styles, and you just keep diving down these rabbit holes, and still it's like the results haven't changed that much. I have all this fucking information. And then the worst part, you have all these tools and you can do them under normal good circumstances with like a client or at an event or with a random stranger. But the people you love the most, that are the greatest triggers and know how to push your buttons the most, and then you get that trigger and literally you take your whole toolbox you built for 30 years and you throw the fucker and don't use any of the tools, because once you go into that fight or flight response, you can't remember any of them. You can't access them. You're automatically in your trigger response, your survival response, and none of it has done any good.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. So the warrior rite of passage that you're going to be releasing for people is the burner for my omelet of stuff that I've, been kind of carrying around. And And now I'm able to take all these modalities and all these lessons and things I've learned and kind of, create my own omelets.
Mm.
And I will do this like after I get my 20 minutes in or 30 minutes. Then if I want to do this type of work, like I'm about to share, I'll do that. I'll kind of tag it on at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Once I've gotten myself to that spot where everything's nice and calm and clear, feeling refreshed and all that, then I'll do this thing, which I kind of did one morning, and I made it up, but it was taking all these pieces of stuff that I'd learned, and I was just kind of combining them. That's part of my job as a copywriter, is I just combine that stuff, combine
There's
things.
something you said, Sean, that I want to accentuate because it's really important. The average man, so the greatest addiction in the world is thinking. Mm-hmm. Now, we don't want to hear that through, fuck, I think too much. I'm in my head. When am I going to figure this shit out? Because that furthers the problem. So we already covered that. But a point Sean made is very, very powerful to understand. So Einstein made it very clear, no problem can be solved from the same state of being in which it was created. Those weren't his exact words, but that's what he was saying. And so if you're out there and you're like, fuck, I have debt, I have bills, I need to provide, my wife's got me under pressure, my sex life's struggling, I don't know how to end these patterns in my relationship, I keep trying to pursue my passion, my purpose, zone of genius, but I have to pay the fucking bills and provide with what I know, or whatever it is you're navigating. And if you keep trying to solve it from the same thinking you have, your only ability is to create more of what you've got. You must do a combination of doing the healing work we're going into and we're alluding to, and that Sean's going to share more of, but you also must master the ability to shift your state of being out of the thinking into the stillness where you can actually access higher knowledge, higher truth, higher wisdom, to be inspired. One of my favorite quotes of all time, I heard it from Jesse Elder, not sure if he made it up or got it from somewhere. He said, taking uninspired action is like having sex with your clothes on. And so when you're going to the rational mind every day to think, okay, here's the thing, here's the problems at hand. Let's tackle these problems and solve this and put these fires out one more day. And you drag your ass out of bed and you go grind away at those fucking problems. If you're taking it from the same thinking and the same state of being you had yesterday, you're going to get the same fucking results and nothing's going to change. You're going to stay in that rat race forever. And so that's why we do all these tools. You meditate, you shift your state. You work out, you shift your state. You breathe and you heal some trauma and shift your state. You journal and you process some trauma and create some clarity on where the fuck you're going. Because if you don't know where you're going, you're already there. All these things you do to shift your state. Well, the stillness that comes from this meditation technique is the foundation to becoming a fucking king, is the foundation to moving from victimhood to creator. That's another program that is confusing as fuck. As well, I'm not a victim. I don't claim to be a victim. I don't blame my shit on anyone else. But subconsciously, we fucking feel victimized by life. Have you ever been pissed at God that money's not coming in? Mm-hmm. Feel pissed at life because it keeps kicking your ass? That is still rooted in victimhood, even though we don't adopt or identify. Our pronouns aren't victim. We don't identify as a victim, but there's fucking programs that are running that are still keeping us not in creatorhood, but in reaction, which is victimhood. And so going to stillness is key. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I was just going to say my victim story, maybe somebody can relate to, is like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, geez, I've been doing this, been grinding for weeks and months and years, and like,
and still similar results. What is the fucking point, right?
Like even if I doubled my income, but it's still month to month. Like, man, what am I doing? Like, that was my victim story. Is like, what's the point?
And there's a wisdom in that because we're meant to evolve,
right?
And life is meant to get fucking better. But we've been doing the work. We've tried like a motherfucker. We ground and ground and ground for decades, trying to be the good dude, trying to be the good husband, trying to be the good father, trying to be the honest businessman, trying to add value, learning and growing. And then still just life was like better, kind of, but not really fulfilled, not really whole, not really happy, not really joyous, not really peaceful, not really a life balance, not really able to ever fulfill many of our dreams or hobbies or travel or fucking relax, or and then looking at others going, how the fuck, why are they so successful? Look, all these guys, what the fuck is wrong with me? I must just be broken. Maybe they're just, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just fucked, right? Like there's all this shit that runs. But so I want to finish the accentuation and let you get into it so I don't go too long, but it's the stillness that allows the inspiration. And so when Sean says he does the meditation, not pondering anything, just being still. Because when you go in going, okay, I'm going to meditate so I can know what to do. That's not what the fuck you go in for. You go in and say, I'm going to meditate and clear my mind. I'm going to let my mind have a rest. And my mind is going to be racing saying, I need to solve these problems for you so we'll be okay. And you got to say, hey, buddy, thank you. Not right now. We're just going to fucking relax because, hey, we fucking need it. We're just going to relax. We're just going to be, right? And so you do that. And so when Sean says he waits till he's done that, and at the end, he allows the inspiration to flow, because now you're creating from a heightened state. You're creating from a place of wholeness. You're creating from a place of stillness. You're creating from a place of inspiration. You're creating from a place of clarity. And instead of creating, so like begats like is one of the other principles. And whatever energy you're in when you create, this determines the results. So if you're going, oh shit, I got to pay the bills. If I don't pay the bills, the fucking house is going to get taken. And then my wife's going to leave me and I'm fucked, or whatever those things are. And you go to work and you grind from that place, you keep creating the same result. But when you master the mind and say, hey, I don't give a fuck what those problems are out there. Fucking saber tooth chasing us. We're going to climb the fucking tree, build a little cage around us, and we're going to meditate. We're going to go to stillness, and we're going to get clarity before we do another fucking thing. Otherwise, we're going to get ourselves killed, right? So we're going to relax. We're going to rejuvenate. We're going to shut the fucker off. We're going to be still and tap into inspiration. Because when inspiration guides every step of your life, magic happens every step of your life. And so you meditate not trying to solve anything. You just meditate for the sake of stillness. On the other side of that, when you're in the stillness, you can go into a state of wonder where you can receive any answer you want about anything you want. Like better than any coach I've ever hired on how to navigate my business, go into stillness and then get into curiosity and wonder when I'm done. And it fucking happens. Yep. And then the last thing I'll add, if you want to pray or set an intention and have it actually work, like you ever been pissed? Like I pray and nothing fucking changed. I set an intention. I did that intention thing. They said nothing fucking changed. I did the manifestation thing. Nothing happened. You're praying as a beggar. If you don't first meditate, come to stillness, embody your divinity, and then command the elements, or set your intention from a place of, I fucking know. Like was it Peter that walked on water? He's slipping my mind. Yep. You have to have this knowing, not a thought, not a hope, not a dream, not a prayer. Faith doesn't mean I believe, I hope. It means I fucking know. That's when faith works. I know. So, and you get to that knowingness through that stillness. Through the stillness, you access divine truth and love. And in that place, you have a knowingness and a clarity. And the earth will fucking move. Mountains will move for you when you get in that place. You will become what we're calling the luckiest mother lovers alive. There's a big story of that, but we don't have time. So I just wanted to accentuate that. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah. So I'll jump into this. Probably takes 7 or 8 minutes here to just kind of go through this. But this was something, like I said, I was coming out of the meditation and I just had this, I've been doing a lot of integration work. Like I said, timeline therapy, internal family systems, IFS, inner child work, shadow work, all the different things. And I was like, I wonder what happened if I just well, it wasn't even like I wondered, it was like you said, it was just this inspiration that came through. It's like, oh, what if you just created this whole little system where you went back and healed this part of your past and just, yeah, go ahead.
Teacher. What
Sure, sure.
Sean's talking about, because he didn't even have to wonder. He was in the state and knowingness came in. So years of work that he had done. And all of a sudden, a knowing said, well, hey, if you combine this, boom, you can go to the root of this major fucking thing that's been fucking every aspect of your life for as long as you can, every relationship, everything, for as long as you can remember. And instantly, it's like in the Matrix when they're like, hey, we need to get the fuck out of here. Download how to fly that helicopter. They're like, okay, I can fly this thing.
Yeah.
Like that.
Exactly
Sean, in an instant, knows, oh shit, I can combine this, go to the root of my thing, solve it right fucking now, and move forward without that being a hindrance and a fucking chain that binds me anymore right fucking now. That's how powerful this is. So, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it happened. Like, going back trying to tell it, it was much more, I'm explaining things now for the sake of the call, but in the moment it was much more just like boom, it just happened.
Yep.
Right. And it went through it, came out of it, told you about it. Like, so yeah, basically what happened, I was still, and I just had this vision in my mind. I was like, okay, imagine a timeline out. For me, my timeline goes in front of me. Some people's timeline goes front to back, wherever your timeline. If you imagine a timeline, for me, mine runs left to right, past is on the left, right, future's on the right. And it kind of is out in front of me like this electric kind of line out in front of me. If you saw the movie Avengers, one of the Endgame or one of those where they have the timeline on the roof with the Hulk, and that's similar to what I kind of see it in my mind. But there's this one point in my life. It was the middle of 7th grade. We were living in a great neighborhood, great town, Augusta, Georgia, and my dad got this idea he was division manager of a Prudential, and he decided to throw all that in and go into a entrepreneurial business selling iced tea concentrate. Crazy, like way before concentrates. This was the mid 80s, so way before concentrates were big. So we had to move towns. Obviously, this was before social. So my core buddies that I was hanging out with in the neighborhood were just kind of snatched from me, is the way it felt. And I remember we were in the new town. It's about 3 hours away in Northeast Georgia. And I remember riding in the back seat of the car with a realtor. And I remember making a pact with myself. This sucks. I'm never going to make friends because it's too hard. And for years, I've done a pretty good job of keeping that. Like, I'll make friends, but I never get too close. I move a lot to kind of keep those things going. So I was like, well, that seems like that's the point I want to work on, that I came to.
Real
And I've been
quick.
aware of it for a while, but I've not been able to break that spell that I put on myself.
And let me just accentuate how this impacts all of us on one level or another. How often have you been in a group of men where you didn't fully trust the motherfuckers? You wouldn't fully trust them with your daughter. You wouldn't really want to open up your full heart and share your pain, your struggles, your joys, your excitements, your everything. How often have you been scared to commit in relationship because ultimately a program's running that says if you however big you open your heart, that's how bad it's going to hurt. However much you love, that's how bad it's going to hurt on the other side of it. So there's, Jung said, until the unconscious is made conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And so we all have to make aware what programs are running the show, because we don't see the world the way it is. We see it the way we are. And the more we keep thinking that we see it accurately, the more we keep damning ourselves to stay in the exact reality that we're in. And so one of Joe Dispenza's key teachings is break the habit of being yourself. If you want to fucking change your life, stop fucking being the way you are. Not that like you're fundamentally flawed. You can't go into that with this, I'm fucked up, because that keeps you fucked up. You have to go like, okay, what are all the things that I'm saying? Well, that's just me. That's just how I am. No, that's something because maybe you have an angry reaction when this thing happens and you've always had it your whole life. That doesn't mean it's you and the way you are. That means that's how you've been reacting your whole life. And that's a habit that can be broken.
Yep.
Right. Or if you're hard on yourself, that's not just who you are. Or if you have negative voices or bad habits, those aren't just who you are. That's just what you've been doing. Who you are at the core level is a divine fucking being, a powerful being, a disciplined, loving, caring, inspired leader, a powerful, divine human who loves and is intelligent and capable. Every fucking one of us at the core is an amazing being of truth and power and ability. And so who you think you are, you're not. Like, there's, on some level, you know who the fuck you are. You know you're powerful, you know you're amazing, you know you're capable, you know you're destined for beautiful things. But there's a lot of things you think are you that are not fucking you. They're not. And we must break the habit of being ourselves if we want to create a different result. And we have to break thinking and beliefs and stories that were programmed in by TV and movies and society and our families of origin and the environments we grew up in. So here's Sean. And the way this plays out is the inability to share real intimacy, like the levels of sex that I've discovered. It used to be, you know, one of my friends said there's something like there's porn, there's regular sex, there's porn sex, and then there's connected sex. And when you truly open your heart fully with a partner and they open theirs fully, there's a level of intimacy that's far beyond stroking parts and having an orgasm or 3 or 10. It's so far beyond that, so far beyond that. And the same thing with creating money. When you create money that's aligned with your passion, your purpose, your zone of genius, and supports a lifestyle that feels fucking amazing and relaxed and peaceful, there's so much fucking more to life than what's been sold to you and demonstrated to you. By far, I fucking promise. But these things that Sean's talking about impact all of us in our ability to connect and relate and be met and feel seen and feel heard. If you look at the stats, there's the suicide rates among men are fucking insane. The amount of loneliness and disconnect and addiction that comes from us not feeling safe to open our hearts and connect. I just wanted to take a minute to accentuate that what Sean was going through around this is a program that's probably running in every fucking one of us on one level or another, and it's costing us tremendously.
Yeah, especially if you're over 40 and you grew up in that time where it just wasn't cool to do the stuff, unless maybe you lived in certain parts of California or something.
Right.
Yeah. So step one is isolate that time. Like and that's something I'd been able to do before, but I was never able to get past it and really deal with it. I was aware of it, conscious of it, but I'd never been able to deal with it. So I isolated to that time. Then step two, you want to actually talk to that version of yourself in your mind. See that person sitting in the back. For me, seeing that teenager, for me, I use like school pictures to kind of get an idea of what I look like at that age. So I talked to that version of Sean, and I was like, hey, I know this is really hard for you. Would you like to change this? Would you like to change how this feels so that it doesn't affect affect us for the rest of our lives?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to wait a little bit. And I actually have a pillow on my sofa now too that I'll like put my arm around if it's an older version of me, or I'll put it in my lap if it's a younger version of me that I'm talking to, just for that kind of that tactile sense. So I got agreement. So that's kind of like the inner child or the IFS type work. And then what I did, so once they gave me agreement, then I began to, with my hands, start to manipulate the timeline. And in my mind's eye, I could see like this little splinter going off of this event where it, created a whole new timeline with all these kind of consequences and the way I showed up in relationships and all these kind of things. So what I did is I actually kind of took that and I snipped it off with a pair of scissors, and then I start smoothing everything back together. And I started going through literally relationship by relationship from the first day that I could remember at school, and stuff started just flooding back that I had not been aware of. I remember the first girl that I, saw that I thought was cute. And I remember like the first class I was in and the first couple of people that I talked to, and how I was very standoffish. And instead I rewrote every one of those to where I was excited to be there. I was the new guy. I was the cool kid.
Yeah.
And I just started weaving that in. And I was like, how does that play out over the years? Even though it doesn't affect, maybe it doesn't affect all the relationships, or it's like, I still got married to the same person. Like I wasn't trying to change any of that, but how I showed up for any of the people in my life has now changed. because of the work that I did and repaired that, and literally I could feel it in my body, in my heart, like everywhere. I could just feel like something changed. So as I continued to do this, right before I was about to join the two timelines, the past and the future, into the present moment, I kind of looked back at Sean. I said, "Hey, you ready? This is the final thing. We're going to join these two timelines, and it's done." He said, "Yeah." So I literally just like slammed my hands together, and I just, in my mind's eye, just like a Marvel movie, I just saw this like flash of light. Um, didn't actually see light. It's just the imagination for me. Some people may actually see light. I don't know. Um, and then I took that and I pulled it into my heart and kind of let my arms stretch out. And so the timeline was actually running through me instead of out in front of me. And then as I did that, I'm kind of in this space here with my arms wide open. I got this visualization of a cross, growing up Christian. And then I was like, I felt this. I was sitting cross-legged on the couch. I actually put my feet down on the ground to be a little bit more grounded. Then I just felt this up and down, alignment, and then back and forth. So it felt like this cross, and like just like the weight that was lifted off of me, and the hiding that I'd been doing my entire life around this moment, not trying to get too close to people, all that kind of stuff. Just it all just kind of vanished. And then I just kind of sat in that for another 3 or 4 minutes. Like I didn't get up because I was finished. I just kind of sat in there because first of all, it just felt good. Like it was just so soothing and so peaceful. I think you call it divine love. That kind of sense of divine love was coming through. And then finally, you just kind of got up, about 4 or 5 minutes later, I guess. And I remember standing there later that day. I was standing at the kitchen counter, and it literally felt like I was standing in a different house, in a different kitchen. We've been renting this place for about 5 years now since we moved to Austin. And that was never the plan. Like we were going to come kind of stay in Austin for a year, then move on to somewhere else. So I had a lot of like resentment, and I felt trapped and everything else, even though it's a beautiful house in a beautiful part of Austin. Like people would kill to live here. Like people have this neighborhood probably on their vision boards, it's that kind of place. But I was totally ungrateful, and I felt trapped. I felt the victim. And standing at the counter later that day, like I was like, oh, I kind of like it here. Like I did a lot of work to get to be able to live in a place like this that has, the space and all the nature around it and everything else. So I was literally feeling a different life. And I know how crazy that sounds than what I'd felt, 3 or 4 hours earlier before doing that. So that's how powerful this, like, it literally was like just rewriting a point in history, and just quantumly it changes everything that follows.
So as you're sharing, I've had very similar experiences, and to the viewer, you might think, "What's this weird shit these two guys are talking about?" All this visualization.
Oh, I would have called you crazy 5 years ago.
Right, and shit's real. So you watch like the Back to the Future or movies like that where they travel in time and they alter something that happened in the past and it changes everything. This shit's real. But you can do it inside of you, because what you'll notice is whatever's unresolved repeats itself until it's resolved. Whatever you felt victimized or traumatized or hurt by, you can actually go back and rewrite it in your mind, in your heart, in your sense of the experience. So if Sean believed his whole life subconsciously, every time you get close, you're just going to lose, if you get close to people or you get nice shit, you're just going to lose it. And so I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And by the way, I'm not going to go all the way in on anything because I don't want to do it.
I know a lot of the guys are our age, so this line may sound familiar, but if you remember the movie War Games, at the end of the movie, the line at the end of the movie from Joshua the computer was, "The only way to win is not to play." Man, I took that to heart.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that's good. I'm using that." And I based my life on that for since high school, since I saw that movie.
So if I don't let you in and I don't go all in and I don't be all of me, that's the safest route. But it's literally
which
put
is
your
a
life
lie.
on speech. Yeah. And so for me, we're short on time. We need to wrap soon, but there was an experience where I felt a massive hurt and betrayal and judgment in relation to my mother. And I was guided by a person. I didn't come about it like Sean, where it just popped in and self-guided. I hired a facilitator that was an expert at timeline therapy. And I was able to go back, relive it, bring it up as if it was really happening, and rewrite the whole thing with a new lens of, and it's essentially when you receive the gift and you change the belief and you integrate the gift, then you move forward, and the pattern that's been playing out in your life over and over on repeat clears out, and you go, huh, that's not there anymore. And that's happened to me on so many things where I used to react every time someone did a certain, like every time my wife did certain things, I felt jealous, even though she wasn't doing anything that was actually worthy of jealousy. And I thought that would never go away. Yeah. For many years, every time life got hard, I was thinking like, eat a fucking bullet. That cleared out, right? There were things that I thought that that's just how it is. That's how it's always going to be. There's nothing I can fucking do about it. Yep. And then I look around 3, 4, 5 months later, I'm like, huh, that's not here anymore. I didn't even realize it. It's gone. Or money, where it used to always be hard. Okay, I need to make this money. Let's make a plan. Let's grind for a long ass time. And maybe, hopefully it might happen. More like it just fucking shows up and boom. So like so much changes when you do the real work, work, this deep stuff. It's a combination of habits. It's a combination of mental discipline. It's a combination of self-love. It's a combination of clearing out the shit and rewriting the stories, rewriting the programs, and a bunch of things. But the magic we're finding is that it all takes place organically and naturally, as magical as what Sean's experience was, by simply first going to the stillness.
Yep.
So any final words, Sean, before we wrap?
No, I think that's a lot. Yeah, I think, if you haven't had a conversation with Christopher, I would definitely suggest you do that, or his team, and see what the next level, beyond the free group looks like. Because I'm helping Christopher with some stuff, behind the scenes with the book and some other stuff. I've been in both his groups, and I can tell you that I'm seeing the evolution of what's happening to these guys, both as an observer and a participant. I'm seeing a lot of big changes and a lot of people having major breakthroughs that have, been stuck. And I think this work, there's this thing called the U-shaped happiness curve. Basically, it bottoms out in our 40s, is what they've discovered. And if you have these tools, then you can shorten that dip. Like, it's almost inevitable that you're going to have it at some point in your 40s, early 50s, late 40s, early 50s. But this type of work will help drastically lessen that and help you speed through it.
Tremendously. And not just in ways like, oh, Sean feels more peaceful. Like one guy in the Men of Sovereignty, just a quick example. He had, as long as I'd known him, for more than a decade, barely paid his bills. I mean, he did well, like 6 figures or sometimes multiple 6 figures a year, but still paycheck to paycheck, essentially. Always stressed, always hustling, always grinding. The guy's now making $100,000 a month, and he has the most amount of free time and peace he's ever had. Wow. And so that don't always come immediately, but it always comes when you keep doing the work. And there's many other examples where it isn't just, oh, I feel better. It's the feeling better that comes first. Like we said, you can't solve a problem from the same state. And if you don't know where you're going, you're already there. So when you get crystal clarity on where you're going, and then you go, well, who will I be when that's a reality? How will I feel? How will I conduct myself? How will I manage my days and my times? And where will I live? And what will I be doing for a living? And how much will I work? And how much time will I spend taking care of myself and doing fun shit and connecting with my wife and kids, or all those things? And you get that clarity, and you create that alter ego of who you're becoming in the process. And the main thing is, what state of being? How does that guy in the future, when he has all those things he's dreamed of, how does he feel? Well, we help you feel that way every fucking day. And that's the fastest way to bring about the change. It will blow your mind how fast the relationship turns around, the intimacy, the sex, the money, like in catastrophic ways.
Pain will leave you. I mean, pain will leave your body.
Absolutely. Everything changes. So when you're talking a guy that's typically made 100 to 200 grand a year and always been stressed as long as I've known him, and he shifted his state, the clarity came in, and within 3 months, he's making 100 grand a month and finally lives that lifestyle. That's how fast it can turn around with what we're talking about. And that's why I'm on fucking fire and committed to delivering. So there's 4 rites of passage. We're delivering the warrior rite of passage for free because it will show you we're not just fucking blowing smoke up your ass. So do the Warrior 44 as soon as you can, prepare yourself. And when you're done, and in the meantime, we're taking all the men in the membership group. If you're in the free Wolfpack group, this is our free service. This is our contribution to add as much value as we can for free. You pay to play, you take a fucking rocket ship. And we're not fucking around. And we've kitchen tested this shit for 3 decades. We've got it dialed. And you want to see change, be willing to change. Reach out, we'll go to work, you will see that change, and you will be glad you did. Sean, what are you offering that if anyone felt called to connect with you, work with you, what could you bring to them?
Yeah, right now I'm having some fun with ghostwriting books. So if you have a book in you that you're wanting to get out, but you don't have the time to do it yourself, I can help with that. Really, it'd be a nonfiction type book, and it's one you might want to use for like marketing, like in your niche, that kind of stuff, or to be a thought leader in your niche. Mm-hmm. So maybe not your memoir or anything like that, but more of a tool that you would use to grow your business. Mm-hmm. That's the type of stuff I'm helping people with right now. That's kind of the main thing I'm doing right now.
I can't recommend Sean enough. He's the one helping me write my book, and I am so utterly pleased, beyond measure, and grateful. And Sean is also a phenomenal coach. I don't know if he has spots available. He's a phenomenal teacher, guide, coach, and I don't think he calls himself that, but he.
I don't know what to call it. Yeah. I just help people make their life better.
Yes, he's phenomenal at it. He's done the work on a deep level. He's coming from the right intention and attitude and authenticity. And the process he described is some of the most powerful work I've ever done. And he's brought multiple of the most powerful tools together in one. And so I don't know if he's available for it, but if he was willing to do a session for you, getting to a core thing that you're dealing with to clear that pattern once and for all, hey, I'd hit him up and see if at least you sell him on doing it.
Yeah, I'd be open to that. I'd definitely be open to that. So, awesome. Yeah, you can just find me on Facebook, names on the screen. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, so you can look me up there.
Sean, thank you for taking the time today to share this and be here. And this has been a great conversation. All you viewers, thank you for showing up. I know you could be anywhere else in the world doing anything else, and you chose to be here. I hope it blesses your life tremendously. Feel free to reach out anytime with questions, comments, requests. Thanks for being here. Have an amazing day. Take care, Sean. See you soon.
Thanks. See ya.
Hey, guys, I hope you extracted the value from the conversation that we shared. I will be having additional conversations with members of the Wolfpack where they share their insights and their learning and their growth, their breakthroughs, their successes. And we share these in an effort to help you glean from them to fuel your own success. And if you haven't joined us in our free community, join us on Facebook, the Wolfpack. You'll see the link in the description or comments below. We'll see you there.